Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, August 22nd, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Steve Helwagen in just a moment. As we do occasionally, I put a thread on the Bucknuts message board, the front row message board, for our Bucknuts subscribers to ask us some questions for today's show. And to the surprise of very few of you, I'm sure, our subscribers are nonplussed, many of them, I should say, about how recruiting is going for the Buckeyes. A lot of questions about NIL. Steve and I are going to tackle all of that and much more. And yeah, we're going to talk Ohio State, the actual team, with the Texas game merely 8 days away. Before we do that, I want to let you know about Chubby's and a great deal you guys can get. Chubby's has unveiled their NFL collection. You saw me wearing my Bengals shirt earlier this week. Dan Rubin had his Cowboys. Right now is a great time to get some Bengals gear, Browns gear. Steve's a Browns fan, or whichever NFL team is your favorite. They have all 32, so don't worry. For a limited time, use our exclusive code Bucknuts for $10 off at chubbysshorts.com/Bucknuts. Yes, that includes their brand new NFL collection. Chubby's has also delved into the fantasy football world. Yes, Chubby's is the ultimate football apparel brand, so much so they created their own fantasy football league. Head to chubbysshorts.com/TheChubby'sLeague to learn more and have some fun. chubbysshorts.com, The Chubby's League. Get ready for the most outrageous fantasy football season of your life. And again, as for their awesome gear, for a limited time, our friends at Chubby's are giving our listeners $10 off with the promo code Bucknuts at chubbysshorts.com/Bucknuts. That's $10 off your order with the promo code Bucknuts, and that includes the NFL collection. Support our show and tell them that we sent you. Express yourself and level up your game day wardrobe with Chubby's. All right, let's level up and bring in Steve Helwagen here. Good to see you. J-Book has the day off. I had to do the show very early. I got some stuff going on, so I had to do the show very early. So thanks for waking up early, Steve. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem at all.
All right, so I started this thread on the message board, and our people are not very happy about the way recruiting is going, Steve. I know that's going to shock you, but I mean, let's just start off with a general question, because there's like about 10 questions that are like, what's going on? Are we playing by the rules and nobody else is? Why are we falling behind in recruiting? I think it's not this simple, but I do think there's other schools that are just kind of, not playing by the rules. And it feels like Ohio State right now is playing by the rules. Again, that's a simplistic view, but that's my view of it right now. Where are you at with that, Steve?
Well, I think that I don't work at Ohio State. So that's the first answer to the question. I can't definitively give you an answer about this. No one, and Ryan Day is probably not going to talk on the record about what's going on with recruiting. Perhaps after this Texas game is over and you have the focus on, playing Grambling or whatever, that'd be a good week to bring this up and say, okay, what is happening here? You've never had a stretch where you've lost out on these kind of, this number of players in a row like this, and they have such a great product to sell. Why aren't people buying it? That's the question. And I think that you look at it, are there a finite amount of dollars? Maybe, but I also think there is a lot of confusion in this space right now about what you can and cannot do. You could promise somebody something today, it's August the 22nd, but then it's got to get put through the NIL clearinghouse, once that athlete comes to campus. And I think that's the disconnect, that they don't want to stick their neck out there to promise something that may or may not be there down the line. There are only so many dollars in the revenue share, about $15 million for football. So I don't know. It's a difficult question, and Ohio State doesn't seem to have a very good answer to it right now. And I also think it's a function that Ryan Day would rather, if, given his druthers or whatever, he would rather spend his money on proven players. A Seth McLaughlin, for instance, a Caleb Downs, somebody that's going to come out of the transfer portal and help the team win immediately in 2026, as opposed to taking a chance on a high school kid. This last one, Braylon Womack, is, he's a national top 15 prospect. if there's anybody that you want to bid on, those are the prospects you want to put a bid in on and stick into it to the very end. Now, having said this, they've got 6 national top 100 players in this class. You hope they can hang on to Chris Henry Jr. and the rest of those guys and finish off this recruiting class the way that they can. But this is very disconcerting to see what's going on.
We're going to touch on more of that. We're going to bounce around a little bit here. We have a question just about the team itself, about the offensive line from E. Lloyd. Are you guys concerned that Daniels might beat out Ethan Onionwa at right tackle? He says the reason I say that is we know Daniels was still a bit of a project at Minnesota and only started down the stretch due to injury. In other words, do you have a concern that it isn't so much that Daniels all of a sudden got better as it is that Ethan was not nearly as good as advertised? I think it might be a little of both. And again, this is not etched in stone that Daniels has beat him out, but it does seem that way, that Daniels has won the right tackle job and Ethan's going to be the sixth man. He can be the swing tackle. He can kick inside the guard. Again, that's just I'm just opining there. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, Steve. I think it's probably Daniels has stepped up and maybe Ethan's not quite what they thought they were. What they thought he was, excuse me.
Yeah, I think this is something that's been determined over, it wasn't one bad practice or, it was determined over time if this is what is going to be. I will tell you that one of the days that we got to watch very early on, it just seemed to me like there was a lot of pressure coming off the left edge where Onionwa was. And again, I can't say that he was breaking down or what was going on, but it didn't surprise me when there were some murmurs about his ability in pass protection. I maybe didn't see this in the spring. I don't know. But, the coaches have these guys every day, and they know who stands the test of time. And if it's Philip Daniels, it's Philip Daniels. He's got this is his 3rd year at the college level, and this is his time to step up and be a starter. It's just the way it is. And if that's the way that they're going to go with it, then you have to trust in the coaches, in Tyler Bowen and Brian Hartline, that this is the best alignment for this team going into the season. And as we saw last year, you're going to need 7 or 8 guys anyway. It's such a long season. Guys do get banged up. And I do think that, to have a guy like Onionwa there to plug in wherever you need him, that's not such a bad thing either. So let it play out. Coach Day talked about that they may be rotating some offensive linemen as they did in the playoff last year. And that's not such a bad thing either. As it turned out, we always talk about having 5-man continuity on the offensive line, having one unit working in concert with each other. And it does kind of upset the apple cart to stick a guy in there sometimes, but last year proved you can do it. So if you're properly coached. So let's just let it play out and see how it all works out. Obviously, Texas is going to come in and try and put a pressure on Julian Sayin right off the jump, and we'll see if this offensive line can hold up.
A lot of Ross Bjork questions from our subscribers. I'll combine a couple of these, and there was more than just 2, but Mike Hauser says, will Ross wake up? It's getting ridiculous. We're coming off a natty, and we're going to finish out of the top 10 in recruiting. Now Gray to South Carolina. Somebody else down here just cuts to the chase. How would you guys rate Bjork's performance to date? From my perspective, this is not me. This is Brave Shark.
What do I think of his performance?
Yeah. From my perspective, he says, I would give him a D. He says he would give him a D. He said, I think there's been challenges with the game day experience at the stadium, the $20 million comment that he said last year that made us look kind of silly. He talks about all these different things, the decision to hire Diebler, on and on and on. He gives him a D. Answer those questions, Steve. Just like, when will Ross wake up? I actually like Ross a lot. And then how would you rate Ross's performance to date?
Yeah, Ross is a very charming guy one-on-one. And, he's a good guy at his heart. He's got Ohio in his roots and his blood. I think he wants to do a great job for Ohio State and for the state of Ohio. It's just they are going through a period of time now where they're having to work through this and figure out what is what. And I can't speak to what Auburn is spending its money on to land a Braylon Womack, but Ohio State, if we say the money wasn't there, then perhaps that was the answer. I don't know. So again, I think we're just going to have to wait and see. And they're going to get it figured out. I don't have any doubt about that. It's just getting from point A to point B. How soon is this going to happen? And I think the questions for Coach Day will come next week, the following week, after they play Texas. I think all focus this coming week will be on Texas. But after that, I think there'll be some dialogue on what is happening, what can you tell us, and where's this thing headed? I mean, what is the breakdown here to not be in the running for some of these top guys who, first of all, they need, and second of all, they usually land. So that's what's a bit troubling, I think.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys about Factor Meals and a great deal you guys can get, a fantastic deal you guys can get. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. Fresh, never frozen. As I always say, these are not the microwave meals that we grew up on, okay? These are just, it's high quality, never frozen, ready in just 2 minutes, and I love it. I personally love their grilled chicken and sun-dried tomatoes meal. They've got a few different salmon meals I like. They have a filet mignon and garlic mashed potatoes meal I like, and I love their smoothies. They got something for everybody. And this is the deal of the century. Get started at factormeals.com/bucknuts50 off. Use code bucknuts50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code bucknuts50 off at factormeals.com/bucknuts50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Factormeals.com/bucknuts50 off. I love that. Half off and free shipping. Let's go. That's good business right there. All right, let's kick back to more questions about the actual team. We're going to go back and forth here a little bit. Another question says, I like Lorenzo Styles. Steve and Dave, I personally think he's a bit of a fish out of water at nickel and lose his spot when we actually go with the best 11. Too many good players behind him in the secondary. Your thoughts?
Well, obviously the coaching staff has confidence in Lorenzo Styles. He's been around a while, has played football, obviously converted to defensive back when he came to Ohio State from Notre Dame, where he was a wide receiver. And again, the coaches are with these guys every day in the spring. It was 15 practices in the spring and 25 in the preseason, 40 practices that they're going to have before they take the field against Texas. I think there is some sentiment that Bryce West, the young man from Cleveland, is going to have an opportunity to get in there in some instances, and could be a guy that eventually, that play count may eventually tilt in Bryce West's favor, depending on how well he plays when he gets in the game. That's what's going to determine all this. If somebody goes in against Texas and gets torched, you may not see him again until Wisconsin week in October, so first impressions are going to be hard to live down in this game. If you don't play well, you're going to go to the back of the bus, so to speak. So to me, I think everybody's going to get an opportunity to show what they can do over these first 3 games before they get into conference play. And again, your starter, has to be better than your backup. I mean, everybody knows that. And yet I think they're going with Lorenzo Styles just because of his age, his experience. He does have some ability, and let's see how he does. Let's don't write him off before he's made his first start there at Nickelback. Let's see how it goes. And I think when you get into the Texas game, you'll get a good feel for how good is he going to be at that position. And there's a lot of guys that they're going to be put in a difficult spot. I mean, Jermaine Matthews feels like he was born for this moment, but he's got to go out and play, as an example. And so we'll see. And again, at safety, Jalen McClain, maybe he's got the edge over Malik Hartford. I think it's hard to say one way or the other. I like Hartford. I like McClain. I like them both. And again, get into the game, get them both opportunities to show what they can do in a prime time situation against the toughest team on the schedule. And it's kind of like they're running the Daytona 500 at the beginning of the NASCAR schedule, Dave. I mean, this is the huge game right out of the jump for Ohio State.
That's a great analogy. Never thought about that. That's the perfect way to look at it. Just jump right in with the Daytona 500. Like, the biggest race on the schedule is the first one. All right, this is a perfect question for you. This is again from E. Lloyd. So E. Lloyd lives in California. Thank you for being such a great teacher. He says he listens to Bucknuts Morning 5 on his way to school every morning. So we appreciate that. We appreciate the great teachers out there. He lives in California, and him and his son go to a different Big Ten stadium every year. And he's thinking about either going to Nebraska or Iowa this year. They have not been there. And he says, Steve, what do you prefer as a game day experience, Nebraska or Iowa?
Oh, you got to go to Nebraska. It's a religious experience. As bad as their football has been the last 25 years, 80-some thousand people show up, and it is fabulous. And the people out there have treated us great on all of our visits there. And so, yeah, I would definitely say Nebraska, just a great game day. The stadium is located on campus, just a few blocks from downtown Lincoln, where all the bars and restaurants are. And really the same for University of Iowa. The stadium is not far from downtown there in Iowa City. So you have some bars and restaurants near it as well. So, yeah, but that's not a knock on Iowa in any way. Iowa is a place that you need to go to as well. I think about it this way. I think you got to go to Washington. You got to go to UCLA at the Rose Bowl. Probably more preferable to go to the Rose Bowl game to go see something like what happened to Oregon last year at the Rose Bowl. That was an incredible experience, I think, for anybody who was in the stadium that day. You can skip USC. That place, the Coliseum, is a dump, and it's in a terrible part of town. Traffic sucks. Skip USC. It's not all it's cracked up to be. You got to go to Oregon. My God. Wow. The noise that those people make, only 65,000 people. It is one of the loudest stadiums I've ever been in. And then on this half of the earth, Penn State, obviously, you got to go there. Nebraska, Wisconsin, obviously, Iowa. Those are probably the 4 or 5 that I would say that you absolutely have to get to.
Yeah, they get down at Wisconsin for sure. I mean, Fraternity Row's right there near, somewhat near the stadium, and they definitely know how to tailgate there.
There's a bar right across the street from the stadium in Wisconsin. Yeah, they serve old. It's funny. They'll have a night game, and you'll be driving through campus in the morning, and those people already be sitting out back in the beer garden, swilling their old style beer. It is something to see there at Wisconsin.
Kick it back to recruiting for a moment. This is from Tony B. He says, guys, who is the best recruiter on the staff other than Heartline? And he has a follow-up. Who is the best developer on the staff? I'll go first. I'll kick it to Steve. Who's the best recruiter other than Heartline? I would give it to Tim Walton. But, man, you could make an argument for Carlos Laughlin. You could make an argument for James Laurinaitis. Back in the day, you could make an argument for Larry Johnson. Remember, we used to consider him the best. Now everybody says, what's going on with Larry? But I'll go with Tim Walton. As far as who's the best developer, again, man, you could go with a bunch of different guys. A lot of the guys I just mentioned. I think Heartline does a great job developing and recruiting, but because it's not just the 5-stars he's bringing in, like a guy like Chris Olave, for example, was not a 5-star. But I'll say the best developer, man, I'll say Laurinaitis. What he was able to do with Cody Simon last year was so damn impressive. I give most of the credit to Cody Simon. I'll give it to James as the best developer, but you could make an argument for many different guys. Okay, Steve, best recruiter other than Heartline and best developer on the staff.
I think the best recruiter other than Heartline is the OG Walt. I think that what he has done has been nothing short of spectacular there at corner and with the defensive backs. I think Matt Guerreri, Braylon Womack, notwithstanding, is also a pretty good recruiter there with the safeties and the DBs. I think Laurinaitis can be. I think the jury is out, obviously, on Tyler Bowen. I think Keenan Bailey is outstanding. And I think Keenan Bailey is a guy that you put in different situations, particularly with offensive guys. Now that he's kind of a co-coordinator on offense, he can help you with quarterbacks and wide receivers and tight ends and running backs, and wherever you can plug him in wherever you need him to be. It was kind of funny. They had a summer camp back in June, and there weren't any good tight ends at the camp. So ordinarily, Keenan would be spending all day over with the tight ends, going through drills and whatever. He left that for the MAC coaches and the guys who were working the camp. The Kenyon coach and whoever else were over there working with the tight ends, and Keenan was bouncing from group to group, working with all the top prospects. And to me, I think he's worth his weight in gold as well. So, because he's a young guy that can relate to the athletes today. And he takes a blend of different people on the staff. Larry Johnson, to me, it's kind of like Larry Johnson Classic. It's just we're seeing a guy. I think his development, he got the best football out of Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau when he had to have it, if that makes sense. Were they great all season long? Maybe not, but they got better as the season went on, and they peaked in the playoff. And to me, that's a good sign, I think, by a position coach of getting it out of the player when they absolutely had to have it. We don't know about Billy Fessler. Everybody swears by him. We'll see, now that his footprint or his fingerprints are on that quarterback position, we're going to find out, how good is Julian saying? How good is Billy Fessler? We're going to find it out as our old friend Luke Fickle once said, it is an evaluation-friendly business, and either you win games or you don't. And so, we're going to know sooner than later. I agree with what you said on Lachlan. Man, oh man, it's fun watching that guy coach and from afar watching him recruit. So yeah, I think they've got a really good staff, Dave. To my way of thinking, Ryan Day has brought in quality people across the board, and they each have their strengths that they play to. And I think that's what having a good staff that is interlocked together is all about.
All right, next question. We've kind of touched on this, but this is just more direct, and I think it's a great topic. This is from Matt Maven, 24, back to NIL and recruiting. He says, simple question, which I don't think has really been answered. Is OSU simply spending their money differently than other schools, meaning allocating more to recruiting players than high school recruits, basically trying to retain their players? Or is Ohio State actually spending less in total? Spoiler note: Steve and I don't think really know exactly, because they're pretty cautious about putting the totals out there, putting the numbers out there. And he goes on to say, Steve, he says, I think most fans can get behind a philosophy where Ohio State is allocating more to their returning players, like they did last year with all those guys that came back. He says, but there have been frequent vague comments about Ohio State interpreting the current rules differently, which implies that they are spending less than other schools. If that is true, that is what will get fans wound up, particularly with a very rough recruiting stretch that we're having right now. So basically his question is, is Ohio State, is it just a different philosophy where they're spending the same amount as other schools? They're just spending it on their returning players like J.J. Smith and Caleb Downs and these guys. Or is Ohio State not spending as much as other schools, period? I don't know the answer, but curious what you do, Steve.
Yeah, the Womack thing to me was very eye-opening because, yeah, they missed on some guys who were like top 50 guys, top 100 guys. But here's Womack in the top 15. I figured if there was one guy they were going to rise to the occasion and give him a package that you can turn around to your locker room and justify. When you hand them a guy like Jeremiah Smith and say, this guy is legitimate, he's the number one player in the country, and we're going to pay him X. And, then the rank and file can look at that and say, I understand that. I fully understand where you're coming from on that. I think Womack would have been potentially that kind of player as well, to where you break the salary cap for a guy like that. You make an exception. I figured that this would have been a case where Ohio State might have done that. And we don't know what their offer was, and we don't know if Auburn topped it or whatever. So we're assuming that they did. So, but there's a lot of things at play here. They are so big on this brotherhood and having harmony and having a great locker room. And the last thing they want is to have this great culture of Ohio State football and upset that by putting in there 5 bonus babies who are prima donnas, who don't want to listen to Caleb Downs, who figure, I'm making 3 times what you make, I don't have to listen to you. That they don't want that. So, you have to walk that line of getting great players, but also maintaining that balance. And you don't have unlimited money. There are maybe discrepancies in how they're viewing the rules. And again, they're not going to overspend for high school guys when you're only as good as your last year. If he has a bad year this year in 2026, there's going to be people asking him to leave. In fact, Dave, you and I know we're going to come on the post-game show. The first game they lose this year, and inevitably they're going to lose a game at some point this year because there's only been, 6 undefeated teams, whatever, in the history, 130 some odd years of Ohio State football. It doesn't happen very often. They're going to probably lose a game somewhere along the line. There'll be some numbnuts come in here after the game and ask, say, hey, we got to get rid of this coach. Dave's got to go. I knew he was no good. That's the culture that this guy's working in. So why wouldn't he want to spend his money on guys who are going to help him win today, which is a Caleb Downs, a Seth McLaughlin, an Ethan Anianwa, up and down the line, whoever it may be, insert the name of whoever. So to me, I think once they get this figured out of what they can and can't do, I think it's going to be fine. It's just they are going through a stretch here where they are trying to be cautious and stay within the guardrails that they think they need to stay within, both from a team standpoint and a rule standpoint.
Got one more ad read, and then Steve and I are going to tackle a couple more questions, and we'll get Steve out of here. Appreciate Steve's insights and appreciate these questions from our subscribers. All right, we'll let you guys know about Cornbread hemp. Are you guys ready for your healthy happy hour? Cornbread's THC gummies and seltzers offer a balanced sense of happiness and relaxation. These are America's first USDA-approved organic THC edibles, and they are proudly grown in Kentucky. The gummies have 10 milligrams of THC per gummy for just the right dose. These have 5 milligrams of seltzers. Cornbread's gummies and seltzers are Farm Bill compliant and legal for adults over 21. If you're looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread hemp a try. They've created the first ever USDA-approved organic THC gummy that's 100% legal. As a special offer for Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. Use promo code Bucknuts at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for 30% off your first hour. Cheers to a healthier happy hour. Yes, sir. Steve, the ad rep says, your Bucknuts people really like Cornbread hemp. And we're like, well, how do you know? He's like, because they keep buying the products. So good job. Good job out there, Bucknutters. We appreciate you supporting our sponsors. All right, a couple more questions. We'll get Mr. Wagon out of here. All right. Fox R 2001. How do we get Bucknutters to stop freaking out over all the misses in recruiting since June? He goes, really? This site is toxic enough when we don't play well in a game, but there's a huge divide between those who are okay with how the coaches approach recruiting and NIL and those that want us bidding on every player. How do we get Bucknutters to stop freaking out? Fox R 2001. You know how it goes. It's not Buck Rational Observers. It's Bucknuts. Yeah. I'm going to steal Dan Rubin's phrase. I mean, it's not Buck Rational Observers. It's Bucknuts. So how do you get Bucknutters to stop freaking out? If you find the formula there, let me know.
Yeah, go out and win some football games. I think that will cure all ails, I think. Yeah. And, there was a guy who followed recruiting years ago. He was kind of clued in with what was going on in the high school and the recruiting aspect. And, Jim Tressel would lose out on a player, and then immediately somebody would say, oh, they dropped the ball. And then immediately it came back from this guy. I hear all this stuff. The staff dropped the ball. This assistant coach didn't recruit the guy. They dropped the ball. He said the ball never gets dropped at Ohio State. If it gets dropped, invariably there's a reason. We're not used to what we're seeing right now, where you're just flat out losing guys to other colleges for whatever reason. So that's what's been a little bit disconcerting. Is I think some of them are conscious decisions by the staff that we don't want this person who has turned out to not be what we thought they were going to be in our culture. And I think that is some of it. I think some of it is straight bidding wars. So, again, win football games. This coach has proven he is a national championship coach, and he's got national championship caliber assistants. And I think you let them have that rope and let them again, show what they can do. And I think that it's all going to be okay in the end. They're not going to just give up trying to win football games at Ohio State because they've hit this little blip in the road.
That's exactly right. Okay, we have another one here. I don't know the answer to this at all. I guess we'll have to find out. All right. Guy wants to know if you and I played a basketball game right now, one-on-one basketball, who wins? Biddle versus Wagon, not in your prime, not in our prime, but literally right now.
I would say Dave would win. First of all, he's got an inch or two on me, so he's taller. I was just an okay basketball player. I loved basketball. I played basketball all the time. I loved it. Like, we would have open gym. We had a park in Circleville. You could go down there and get a pickup game almost 4 or 5 nights a week if you wanted. And so we had all the basketball we could ever want to play, if we wanted to play. And, I had a rim on my driveway, and growing up, I'd shoot for an hour a day. And that's how I got better. I got good enough to play on the varsity team for 2 years. I was only a starter for a few games of the 2 years. Didn't average many points. I was just kind of a glue guy, that was all I really was. And, just kind of an extra, so to speak. So, and here's the thing, made friendships with people that I'm still friends with today and love dearly. So yeah, it to me, basketball gave me a lot, and I wasn't all that great at it. So Dave, you were certainly a better player than I was.
I was
just about everybody was a better player than I was.
Very similar. Like I played at Beaver Creek, and I was like our 6th man. Like,
yeah,
started a few games. Like, we had a pretty good team. We won our league. We actually tied with Springfield South for the league tie. That Springfield South team had D. Miller on it.
Oh, wow.
And the quarterback. And now I'm blanking on the quarterback.
Wallace.
Yes.
Chris Wallace
went to Toledo, I think. Those guys, you'd pick up the Dayton Daily News. It's like, Wallace threw for 500 yards, and D. Miller had 300 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. It's like, damn. But so we got to play them, and I'm sure they killed Beaver Creek in football. We tied with them our senior year. But yeah, I was very similar. I think it would be a stalemate, and I would be very sore. I'll say that. All right.
Yeah, I haven't picked up a basketball in forever. We actually, at our new house, we have a rim out on our driveway, up one of those portable ones, and I haven't even really shot on it yet. So yeah, I need to get out there and work on my game.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, it's so much. It's crazy how my game has just completely left me. All right. Great stuff from Steve. I appreciate you jumping on here and sharing your wisdom. Great stuff from you, my friend. I appreciate it. He is the wagon. He is Steve Helwagen.
We're going to get to the bottom of this recruiting stuff one way or the other.
Yeah, I think they're going to be okay. I think Ohio State's going to be okay. As soon as they beat Texas, hopefully, I think people can just take a breath. Although, this is how the whole still basking thing started. It was like not even a week after Ohio State beat Notre Dame for the national championship. I can't remember specifically what it was, but people were upset about certain things. I'm like, guys, we're like less than a week removed from the national championship. Can we just bask in the glow a little bit? So I know it's been a while since then, but yeah, winning cures all, and I am very bullish on this Ohio State team. All right, thanks again to Steve. Thanks to all of you. We appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. I hope you're still basking. Go Bucks.